And gentlemen, girls and boys, and assembled company, welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And it is Tuesday evening, so it should be International Young Tellers. But owing to my late arrival and the fact that it's the holiday period, from 1,000 different cultures, we have no young people. Well, we have young people, but not under the age of 25. So we'll just tell stories anyway. I believe I have a storyteller in the cafe. If she cares to come forward and tell a story, marvelous. And if you can tell us your name and okay. Waleed is doing his magic stuff, taking it off mute, etc. And getting this all coming together very nicely. Very appropriate for our last program of the year of Tuesday night. We should have it all disintegrating in this kind of spontaneous anarchy. But we are, in fact, talking Marrakesh, where such things, where spontaneity is woven into the very fabric of the buildings. Okay, what's happening? What's happening at the cafe? I can't see. I just have a blank screen and no sound. Please unmute. Waleed, what is happening? Everything's coming together. It was all working just now. It was all fantastic. And then the technology has conspired against us. Aha, Waleed, what is happening? Okay. We're going from somewhere. Isn't the phone? Ah, there we are. There we are.
Hi, John.
Hi, introduce yourself and tell us a story.
Yes, of course. Okay, I have half the audience over there. And my name is Catalina. I'm from Argentina. And where are you, John, now?
I'm in the UK at the moment, in Swindon. I've been around a few places since I was in Morocco. I've been to Romania, different parts, and different parts of the UK. Now I'm sitting in my little flat, so in the UK, and where I was relaxing and forgetting totally about what time it was.
That's completely fine. And here we have. Did you know that something was going on today when you came here? No. We have here an how do you say, like a surprise audience.
Perfect. That's perfect. We love surprise audiences. That's what the cafe was all about.
Yes, that's perfect for a story, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so would you like to hear a story? Sure. Yes. Of course. Okay. So I have this story about a little bird. Actually, it starts with the story of the man who owned the bird. Okay, because this was a commerciant. He lived in a big city and he used to travel different places where he used to buy exotic things, and he would buy them at his hometown. And he was having like quite some success selling these things. He had a nice flat. All he wanted to travel, he could travel. Everything he wanted to do, he could do. He didn't have wife, he didn't have children, but there was one thing that he had, that it was the most beautiful thing in the world and the thing that he liked the best, that was a bird, exactly. And he loved this bird so much that, can you imagine, he had built a special room in his house for the bird, and he had painted the ceiling as the sky, and he had this golden cage where he kept the bird, and it was just a beautiful, it was the most beautiful place in the house to sit down, and he would sit there and just enjoy the singing of the bird, because it was such a beautiful melody. He could stay there hours and hours listening to this beautiful song. This bird came from India. It was an Indian bird. And once the merchant, he found out that he had to travel to India to do some business there. So he went and he asked the bird. He said, "Look, I'm going to India. Is there anything that you'd like me to bring you from your hometown?" And the bird looked at the man and he said, "Well, if I am to ask you something, I will ask you for my freedom." "Well," said the man, "something else maybe? I mean, I really cannot give you the freedom because I will stay alone. But come on, is there something that you like from India, something that you miss, something that you dream about? I'm sure there's something I can bring you to make you happy." And the bird thought a little bit more, and he said, "Okay, when you go to India, go to the place where I belong and find the birds of my family, the birds like me, of my same family. Find them and tell them that I'm here in a cage and that I really long for my freedom, and that I think a lot about the times that we used to fly together in the sky, and that I miss them. Could you tell them that? Could you give this message to my family?" And the man, he thought it was quite a strange thing to ask, but he said, "Okay, yeah, I can do this." So he traveled, he did his business in India for quite some days, and then when he finished, he said, "Well, I'm going to do what my bird asked me." So he went to the forest where the bird was caught in the first time, and he walked for many days until he found the place. And he had heard that he had to go to a special place in the forest where there was a clearing, and there lots of this kind of bird used to gather. So he went there, and when he arrived, he realized he was in the right place, because he could see lots and lots of these beautiful, amazing birds all over singing this beautiful song. And he was there, and he almost forgot what he was doing there, but suddenly he remembered, and he stood there and he shouted, "Birds, birds!" And suddenly he felt all the eyes of the birds looking at him, and he felt self-conscious. And he said, "I've got a message for you. There's a bird just like you in the city, and I bring some news. He told me that he wanted you to know that he misses you a lot, that he misses the time where you flew together in the sky, and that he sends his greetings." And when the man, he said this, one of the birds that was quite near to where he was standing went all tough like this. It opened up the eyes really big, and he fell on the floor dead. The man looked at this and he was completely shocked. Oh my God! The news of the prison of his relative killed this bird. What a sensitive bird. He went back, trying to figure out how he was going to tell his own bird what had happened. He went all the way back to his home country, trying to think of the words he would use to tell this really sad news, this tragedy, to his own bird. And when he arrived, he left his baggage on the side and he was straight to the room where the bird was. And he looked at him. And he was so serious that the bird looked back and he said, "What's going on?" "I got really sad news to give you," he said. "What happened?" "I did as you told me. I went to the forest and I found the birds of your family and I gave them your message. But as I did this, one of them, he opened up his eyes and he went really stiff in his body and he fell to the ground dead. And can you believe me if I tell you that the bird inside the cage opened up his eyes, went stiff, and fell to the ground? The man, he didn't know what to do. He started crying because it was his most dear companion, and he was dead. And with the tears running through his cheeks, he opened up the cage door, he grabbed the body of his friend, he put it in the window, and he opened the window, and he said, "May the morning breeze take your soul, my dear friend." And he looked down just a little bit to take away all the tears that he had. And when he looked up, there was no bird. He didn't understand. He looked a little bit better through the window. There was a tree, and there, it was his bird. "What? What was that?" he said. "Who taught you that trick? How did you do this? How come?" And the bird, he looked at the man and he said, "You see, you thought it was a tragedy, but in fact, it was a message. And the way you told it, you said it to me, it allowed me to get back my freedom. I wish it could have been otherwise. But I'm sorry, my friend," he said, and he opened up his wings and he flew up in the blue sky, free. And that's the end of the story.
What a beautiful story.
You knew that one, John.
Yeah, I heard it.
Nice story.
It was a beautiful story.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh,
That one.
well, maybe as we have an audience, I'm wondering, I'll pretend I'm under 25.
Yes.
But, well, maybe 50 years ago I was, so, or 51 years ago. So I'll tell a story.
Fantastic.
And it's a story I haven't told for a long time. It's called The Imps of Misfortune. And it's from way back in time when my hair was dark and my beard was ginger and all my teeth were my own. And there were two brothers. And one was incredibly poor and one was incredibly rich. And one had no luck and one had all the luck. Now, the one with no luck Well, if he was making a wooden box or something, but he was a carpenter, and if he was making a wooden box for the mayor, it'd be really just at the end, and the chisel would slip, and the box would be spoilt, and he'd cut off his finger. And if it rained, there'd be a hole in his roof, and the cow that had been giving milk dried up and gave no milk at all. And if he had children, they'd be sick. Misfortune was really his name. And it was about this time of year when celebrations were going on all over the world, and he thought, the only person he had no food, and there was no food to feed his family with. And he'd go to his brother and he'd say, he'd swallow his pride. And well, his wife actually got him to say, swallow your pride and go and see your brother and ask for some food. And he went and he knocked on his brother's door, and he went round the front door. That was a mistake. And his brother opened the door and said, "Oh, yes, what can I do for you?" And he said, "Look, it's I hate to ask, but I haven't got any food to feed my family with. Have you got a few scraps for me?" And the rich brother said, "Well, go and wait round the back door. I've got guests in at the moment. It'd be very embarrassing if you came in. Go and wait round the back door, and when I finish, maybe there's a few scraps for you." And he waited, and he waited, and he waited, and all the guests had gone, and the brother still didn't come to the door. And eventually, he knocked at it, swallowed his pride. And the rich brother came out and said, "Are you still here?" He said, yeah. He said, "Yeah. Is there any food left over that I could maybe take to my family so I could give them something to eat?" And he said, "Well, actually, there's not much left. And imagine what my wife would say to me if I had nothing to feed her with in the morning. I'm sorry, no, I haven't got anything for you at all." And he said, "Well, maybe something to drink. I'm very thirsty. I've been waiting here for hours." And the rich brother said, "Well, go to the well over there. There's a tin cup next to it. Fill that with water and have yourself a drink. Put the tin cup back." Well, he took his drink and he put the tin cup back, and he started walking home, and he was just wondering what he was going to tell the family when he heard a laughing behind him. "Who's there?" "Who's there?" "Who is it?" It's us. We're the imps of misfortune. We're always with you. We like you. You know, when there was a hole in the roof, that was us. That was, when you cut your finger when you were making the mayor's box, that was us. And when your cow went dry and your children went sick, that was us. It's very hard work, but it's very satisfying. He said, "Well, how long are you going to be with me?" "Oh, forever," they said. "We'll follow you into your coffin." Well, he went home and he told his wife and children that he got nothing. They loved him. At least you tried, Dad. But he couldn't stand it. He went upstairs and he got some planks of words and some saw and locked himself in the room. None of the family knew what was going on. But he was making himself a coffin. And he turned to him and said, you said you would follow me into... "Oh, yes, we'd follow you into the coffin, yes." Well, he made this it was a beautiful coffin. He said, I need to see if it's right. I'll try it first. And he got in it. Well, yeah, it was the right size. And he said, and then he got out and he said, now you will get in. I need to see if the lid fits properly. "Oh, yes, we'll do that for you." And they started getting in the coffin, and he said, are you all in there?" "Oh, yes, every last one." And he put down the lid and he started screwing it down. And "Oh, no, we don't like this. It's dark in here. Well, he got up and he put the coffin on his back and he took a spade and he started walking off through the snow into the forest. And his children wife said, "Daddy, don't do it. Daddy, don't. It's okay. We love you. We know everything keeps going wrong for you, but please don't. No. But he said nothing. He just carried on walking. He got to the middle of the forest and he cleared some snow and he dug a big hole. Put the coffin in the hole. No, let us out. It's dark in here. We don't like it. But he took no notice and he started covering the coffin with earth and then with snow. And he went home. And as soon as he got home, his luck started changing. If he made anything, if he made anything of wood, it was so good and it was so perfect, it sold for twice the price he was asking. You know, in Marrakesh, you start from the high price and work down to the low. Probably end up with something in the middle if you're in the Medina, in the souk. But it was kind of the opposite. You start with the low price with him, and he ended up with the high price. And his cows gave so much milk he could sell the surplus. And his children were fit and healthy and doing well at school, and his wife loved him. I mean, just so. And in fact, that little hovel they lived in, they didn't need that anymore. They built a beautiful big house. And the rich brother, well, he began to wonder what had happened to his poor brother. Maybe he was dead. And he went to the village where his brother's house had been, and there was no hovel. There was just this beautiful house. And he asked the neighbors, so well, what happened to the carpenter? Oh, that's his house. Well, he knocked on the door and said, I was worried about your brother. What happened? And he was told the whole story. He thought, I'll get that luck turned again. He said, tell me, where did you bury? Oh, no, I can't tell you. No, please tell me. You know, I don't believe you. You're just going to have to tell me where you buried that coffin. So he told him exactly where. And he walked out and he walked through that snow and he went 3 trees to the left and 4 traces forward and 4 trees to the right. And there he moved the snow aside, and it was obvious that the ground had been dug up in the last year. And he dug up the coffin. He knocked on the door and knocked on the lid and said, are any of you still alive? Oh, yes, a few of us. Some of us haven't made it, but let us out, please. I'll do that. And the rich brother, he opened the lid. He said, now I've let you out. You can go back. You can go back and live with my brother again. He said, oh, no. He was horrible. He put us in this coffin and buried us. We like you. You let us out. We're going to live with you. And of course, they went back, and the previously rich brother became poorer and poorer and poorer. And at the season of holidays, whether it was Eid, Diwali, Christmas, whatever, every holiday, the previously rich brother would knock on the door and he'd ask for some food. And his brother that had been poor, of course, gave him some, because that was the way he was. So, have you got another story for us?
I've got, but let's say
Let's
goodbye
see
to
how
our
everyone is.
audience.
Have they all finished their meal up the back there?
Yeah, we've got dinner, so we have to go.
Yes, of course, of course.
Thank you very much for visiting the cafe, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Come and visit us again.
No, no, this is mine. This
Oh,
is
that's
mine.
yours? Okay. Looks like yours. Okay, bye.
Okay, we can finish with Nasruddin. Nasruddin.
Oh, I'd love a Nasruddin story.
Yeah, yeah. They say that once he arrived home, it was late at night, and he arrived home and he noticed something strange was going on. And he noticed that the door was a little bit open, and he got in, and there were some noises, and he went really like without making any noise, and he suddenly saw that there was a man picking all of his own things and putting them in a bag. And Nasruddin, he followed this man secretly in all his house, looking how this man took all of Nasruddin's things and put them in a bag. And then once he had everything in the bag, he went out, and Nasruddin followed him, always secretly. And they went through the streets in the middle of the night until this man, he reached a little house, and he went in, and Nasruddin rushed there. And when the man was about to close the door, Nasruddin just opened it, and the man was really scared. He looked at Nasruddin and said, "What's going on?" And Nasruddin, he looked at him and he said, "Oh, aren't we moving in here?" And that's the end of the story.
Lovely. Now, we were going to finish, but we can't do a Nasruddin story without another, because
Of
if someone
course.
tells a Nasruddin story, of course someone else has to
Of
tell a
course.
Nasruddin story.
Of course.
And this is a Nasruddin story from Yugoslavia, as it was. And because, as we know, Nasruddin stories spread throughout throughout Islam, and Yugoslavia was on the edge of that area, and so and Nasruddin in this story is a hermit, and he lives in the middle of a forest. And one day, a peasant knocks on the door, and he says, "Yes, what can I do for you?" And the peasant said, "You're so wise, and you're such a devout hermit. I've brought you the gift of this rabbit." Nasruddin said, "Thank you very much. Actually, I think I'll make some soup with it, or rabbit stew. Come in and share it with me." Well, they cooked the rabbit, and Nasruddin cooked the rabbit, and the peasant shared the stew with him and thanked him and went off. Well, a day later, there was a knock on the door. There was a group of people outside, and Nasruddin said, "Yes, sir. Who are you?" So we're the relatives of the peasant that brought you the rabbit. And Nasruddin said, "Come in, come in. You know, I'd like a good stew, last for days and days." They all shared the stew. More stew. Next day, there's a knock on the door. Who are you? We're the neighbors of the relatives of the peasant that brought you the rabbit. Come in, come in. And they all let again. A day later, there was a knock on the door. "We are the townspeople of the neighbors of the relatives of the peasant that brought you the rabbit. Come in." And he served up this sort of dirty liquid. They said, "What's this?" I said, "Well, this is the water from the washing up from the pot of the saucepan in which I cooked the rabbit."
Fantastic.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
That's I think I'm not sure what the time is,
It's here 6:53.
6:53. So
Yeah.
I can't see anyone else joining us today. So thank you for being under 25. Of course, you look no more than 16 years old.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. And so you're you're an honorary under 25-year-old, and I'm a dishonorable under 25-year-old. And Waleed is Waleed of an indeterminate age, but the pilot of this magic carpet. And thank you for entertaining our guests, and thank you for being here and saving me from the embarrassment of my lateness.
It
Yeah.
was lovely. It was lovely to share some stories together, John. Thank you.
Yeah. So what's coming up? Friday, we've got Baba C from DC, Washington, DC, telling stories for children. He's amazing. How long are you in Marrakesh for, by the way?
No, I'm in Marrakesh. I'm leaving tomorrow, but I come here really often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will be here for the festival also.
You're here. You're there for you're here for the festival, are you?
Yeah, I will be here.
No, I haven't got the name. I'm beginning to program the festival. So have I got you down as a teller for this festival? I'm sure I have.
I would love to tell in the festival.
Yeah. So there's going to be loads of open mics. So even if they're not programmed in by that name, there'll be lots of opportunities for telling through the festival. So if you're in Marrakesh for that period, just turn up at the events, especially the evening, especially in the cafe. There's going to be lots and lots of story rounds where we have 3 or 4 featured tellers, and then it will go into a story round of open mic, sort of Kaylee style. So please make yourself known. Remind me that I've made that promise to you when you see me walking about, because my head will be all over the place. But
I can imagine.
I mean, I've got 60
yeah.
tellers to sort of try and organize.
Wow.
And if I can't even organize myself to get here on time, I stand no chance. And so what we got Baba C Friday, got nothing this Sunday. We've got International Young Tellers next Tuesday at the same time. I will be here on time, and then the week after we got there, I'm going to probably have to do that to the middle of the night because I'm in the States then. And then who we got? We got the following Friday. We got Despina from Greece, telling stories for children. And any random person that turns up in our cafe
like today.
that has, either just tell to the guests or tell if we're online at the time, join us. But just the cafe is a place where one feels free to advertise itself as a storytelling cafe. Therefore, it is somewhere you can just say, I feel like telling a story. I think I'm going to tell a story.
Fantastic.
And the guests will not be surprised because of the label on it. It will be, as is described on the tin, so to speak. But thank you ever so much for coming in tonight. You've been brilliant. Meanwhile, Waleed, thank you again, and good night, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are in this wonderful wide world.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.